Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking to you about Callery Pear, which is an invasive tree that has now started spreading into natural areas. We're focusing on it in April because now is the time you're going to start seeing it with very showy white flowers. And I want to show you behind me, not just one or two Callery pears, but a whole field that has escaped. I'm actually roadside by a plaza where it was planted quite a bit. If you take a look over at this tree to my right here, that was obviously a cultivated, planted Callery pear, but behind me, I mean, there are probably close to 100 that go beyond like an acre behind me. So this is what we're concerned about. These trees that we had originally planted in plazas as this nice showy tree is now starting to escape into naturalized areas. This tree is native to China and was brought over here in the early 1900s, and was actually, when it was first brought, it was to help with fire blight, which is a type of disease that was ravaging pear orchards out west. And in about like the 1950s, people started realizing, wow, this is actually a great ornamental tree. Let's start planting it here just because it's so pretty and beautiful, and was widely planted, especially on the East Coast and in the South from here. It was planted in urban settings and in rural settings. And once they started messing around with genotypes, we realized that it was actually starting to escape and getting into more natural areas. In 2006, actually, it was the third most popular tree in New York City, and now we're seeing it in areas like this, where it has expanded and starting to cause problems. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why we should be concerned and how it might be impacting some of our native plants and things to be worried about. First of all, Callery pear flowers at a very young age. And then early in the season, the flowers come out, and leaf out is actually relatively early relative to a lot of the native plants that we see. Not only that, but the leaves stay out and on the trees much longer into the fall than a lot of native competitors. So again, you have longer growing season relative to natives, which makes it very difficult. Callery pear can also spread through both seeds and through vegetative means, and so a couple of different ways through which it can reproduce and start taking over areas. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see here, but there's quite a bit of trash on the ground. It's very pollution tolerant. It can adapt to a whole bunch of different soil conditions and varieties, so we can find it in roadside ditches, but also in the middle of meadows and in edges of forests. So again, adaptability to a variety of different conditions. It grows very fast, so it can grow to be about 12 to 15 feet in height in about 8 to 10 years, and some of the bigger trees can actually be up to about 30 feet in height. And if you look very closely, I mean, the trunks of these trees can actually be very, very close together. And what that means is that they grow straight up, and with the trunks being so close together, it really shades out some of the native plants around it, making it very difficult for a lot of the natives and the understory to grow beneath it. It's sun and shade tolerance. One other thing is that the seeds are, again, found in the pear fruit, but also can be spread through birds and mammals. So a couple of different dispersal techniques for how it can get out and about. I wanted to show you up close as to what some of the key ID features are. So if we come into these flowers, so again, this is its real distinctive feature right now, are these 5 petals that you're gonna see on these. So the petals themselves are rounded, and you're not going to see a lot of space in between them. So you might see some other trees that are flowering white around this time of year. So for example, serviceberry is a native tree that you might see at this time of year. So if you do happen to see serviceberries, those petals again are 5 petals around it, but they're going to be more strap shaped, and you'll see little gaps in between them, versus the Callery pear, which is rounded and not many gaps in between those. So at this time of year in April, you're really looking for these showy white flowers, and 5 petals is a key identifying feature of it. And talking about its growth pattern, again, it grows more vertically versus some of the other ones that, like crab apples or apple trees, that might be also showing white this time of year, have a little bit more horizontal growth to it. So I also wanted to show you the fruit on this. So this is actually the little pear here. You can see it's kind of speckled, and it's very, very small. You can see my fingernail in there for scale, and it's next to those 5-petaled flowers that we had pointed out before. But again, these fruit are eaten by birds, and that's one way in which it's dispersed. And so just something else to be on the lookout for. It's usually not as obvious at this time in the spring. You're really looking for the flowers at this point in the spring. The only other feature to look for is that the flowers do tend to come out first, but you'll also see the beginnings of the leaf here. So eventually these leaves are going to turn like a dark green and glossy, little tooth edges on the margins. And so that's going to be another feature. Once you don't see the flowers anymore, it'll start to be this like vibrant green. And actually those leaves are going to turn like a very brilliant reddish purple in the fall. So again, planted for these very reasons, like 3 full seasons of very beautiful colors. But once they get out into these natural areas, there's not much else that can grow beneath it, and it's really starting to outcompete a lot of the natives around us. So here's the goal for April. If you are out and about, we're not so interested in tracking the ones that have been planted on purpose, so something that you'd see in like a hotel or like a parking lot or something like that. But if you do happen to come across and see on roadsides all of these beautiful white flowers, here's the thing to look for. Are there 5 petals on those flowers? Okay, so that's number 1, so go up to it. Are there 5 petals on it? And then what is the growth pattern of those trees? Does it tend to be more vertical and growing straight up? Like crab apples, for example, might be showing white right now, but those tend to grow out more horizontally and be more craggy, versus the Callery Pear, which tends to grow straight up. Serviceberry, we mentioned another one, is more strap-like petals. These are more rounder. So if you do see these out and about, please do try to record it and upload to iNaturalist so that we can help track the distribution of ones that have escaped from cultivation. And of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to contact us at our email, which is invasives@nynjtc.org. Hope you learned something about Callery Pear and can help us track their distribution. Thank you.